Shocking truth, billionaire exposed as homeless trash picker in search for real love, never told. In the heart of bustling Manhattan, every rush hour brought with it the symphony of ambition and greed. But among the throngs of sharply dressed executives, one man stood out, a scruffy figure, rummaging through a pile of discarded treasures. Whispers swirled around him like the autumn leaves tumbling in the park. Who was he? A homeless man, they said. An eccentric millionaire, others speculated. His hands were stained with the remnants of the city's waste, yet his eyes sparkled with mystery, holding secrets that could shake the skyscrapers themselves. As he unearthed a weather-worn book on love, paper crinkling beneath his fingertips, hearts skipped a beat. Could it be? The elusive billionaire, reputed for his unyielding pursuit of genuine affection? News outlets had labeled him as nothing more than a cold-hearted tycoon, yet here he was seeking something the world deemed beneath him. The curiosity escalated as a strange energy surrounded him, like a dark cloud pregnant with unspoken narratives, stretching far beyond the concrete jungle. Suddenly, a small crowd gathered, united in astonishment. Murmurs ran like wildfire, "Look at him. He's trashing his fortune." Panic flickered in the air, and a young woman, clutching her camera, gasped, "What does he want?" Their shared disbelief echoed through the thrumming city, voices drawing closer together. You could feel the tension thickening, the air crackling. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As shadows lengthened and dusk settled over the skyscrapers, the mysterious figure dropped the book into a canvas bag and moved deeper into the alley, leaving everyone breathless and desperate for answers. What drove a man of wealth to sift through refuse? Was he really searching for love, or was there something darker, something buried underneath this complex riddle? The echoes of footsteps faded, but one thought pulsated in the minds of the onlookers: could this enigmatic soul change the way the world perceived worth? What secrets lay ahead, waiting to be uncovered? Amidst the fading light, the alley seemed to pulse with a hidden life of its own. The crowd lingered for a moment longer, their breaths mingling in a mix of confusion and intrigue. Then, as if released from a spell, they scattered back to their lives, leaving behind only the remnants of their collective shock. Disappointment hung in the air, a bittersweet taste as they pondered what they had just witnessed. The figure, a man so unlike the powerful moguls they idolized, disappeared into shadows, unraveling like a forgotten dream. His bundle of secrets cradled against his chest, he navigated the winding pathways of the city, every step echoing with purpose. As he moved away, he glanced over his shoulder, a fleeting shadow of fear crossing his face. Had he revealed too much? Weeks of avoidance and distorted viewpoints suddenly collided in his mind. The world treated him as a ghost, and for years, he had allowed it. A self-imposed exile, cloaked in rags, all to seek what many would laugh at: true connection. Yet the whispers would surely follow. The question lingered, pressing against him like a weight: was he still the man they believed him to be? Compelled by instinct, he took a detour towards the park, silent now, but with memories of laughter and life. As he settled on a worn bench, he forced himself to open the book he had salvaged. Flipping through the pages, the faded ink caught his eye. Quotes jumped out, capturing the essence of love he sought. "Love is an open door," it read. He felt it, an ache so profound. But just then, a low voice interrupted his thoughts. "What do you want with that trash?" A young boy, no older than 10, stood before him, disbelief plastered across his innocent face. The heartache tugged at the corners of the man's mouth, struggling against the instinct to conceal. "It's not trash," he said finally, his voice cracking as he held up the book, "it's a lifeline. A curious glance sparked in the boy's eyes. You want someone to love you? The man hesitated, the gravity of the question grounding him. I want to love, yes. The boy's face split into a mischievous grin. That's dumb. Rich people just buy love. Deflated, the man felt the boy's words sink in, heavier than the weight of all his fortunes. Had he really been chasing something unattainable? With a flick of his wrist, the boy darted off, leaving the man grappling with the uncertainty that had begun to tug at him. Determined, he rose from the bench, the book clutched close. The city around him pulsed with life, the blaring car horns, the chatter of late-night workers, the distant strains of music. He thought of all the people he could reach, the real connections just waiting to happen if he could find a way back. His heart raced. But fate twisted its knife cruelly. In the distance, he spotted the young woman from earlier, camera ready, eyes wide with revelation. Her heart, too, would be gripped by the truth. What would she capture? With one last glance back at the park, he found himself torn between two worlds, the one chasing love through the depths of despair, and another ready to be unleashed in a storm of secrets. Before he could decide his next move, screams erupted as chaos swept through the streets. The world he knew flipped upside down, thrusting him into danger. A mob surged, their eyes wild and angry. What ignited this ire? The whispering shadows of his past cast long doubts. It was clear, he needed to escape, but escape to where? A flicker of hope ignited, urging him to trust the very love he sought. Yet with the coming storm, would he find it or lose everything in the frenzy? The screams ricocheted off the buildings like bullets, each cry slicing through the air, raising goosebumps along the man's skin. He stumbled back, heart racing, frantic thoughts darting through his mind like the swarm of bodies rushing past him. They were a tide of fury, desperate to take control of something they barely understood. What the hell is happening? He muttered, his voice lost in the chaos. People shouted accusations, their voices thick with anger. Glancing around, he saw faces he recognized, former colleagues, friends who had once dined at lavish tables. The bewilderment in their eyes mirrored his own. Had they come for him? He felt the weight of the book still pressed to his chest, a fragile artifact of hope amid the storm swirling around him. He couldn't lose it, not now, not when it seemed to hold the last remnants of his old self, the image of a man who believed in love. But could he really trust that version of himself? The tide surged forward, he buckled down, barely managing to sidestep as a woman pushed past him, her face twisted in rage. She glanced back, locking eyes with him for a heartbeat as she screamed, "You think you can just disappear? We've had enough of your lies." His blood ran cold. Lies? What had he done? Panic gripped him as he looked around for an escape, but the road was blocked by the seething crowd. He was trapped, a fly stuck in the web of his own making. His mind raced back to memories of boardrooms and champagne toasts, of being the untouchable mogul everyone adored. Yet, this was the grim reaper of his past, come to exact a price for the final curtain call. He had craved authenticity, but it seemed he had only traded one mask for another. And then he spotted her, the young woman with the camera. She stood steady, filming the fray with wide eyes, capturing every raw emotion. The realization struck him: this chaos, this uprising, might hinge on his past choices. Was she here to expose him? Without thinking, he bolted toward her, weaving through bodies like a shadow. "Stop!" he shouted, desperation stabbing the air around him. "You don't understand." But she was caught in the whirlwind, her camera rolling, feeding on the frenzy. His heart sank. How could he explain? Could she see him, see past the rags, past the tarnished riches, to the man who sought love in a city filled with emptiness? He scrambled closer, feeling the crowd shift around him as it chanted, their voices growing louder, a wave of fury rising. "He's a fraud!" someone yelled. "Look at him, dressed in rags, pretending." So many eyes turned his way, a spotlight of judgment, a theater of public outcry. He knew he had to do something. There had to be a revelation beyond this chaos, a chance to redeem himself. Then, in the periphery, he spotted an escape, an alley dimly lit but less crowded. Hope flickered, and he lunged toward it, beckoning the woman with a frantic wave. "Please, come with me." To his shock, she hesitated, torn between the pulsating crowd and the path he offered. "What will you say?" Her voice was barely audible over the escalating chaos. "I'll reveal the truth," he gasped. "All of it." But the moment was fleeting. The mob surged, angry cries intensifying, a storm ready to erupt. Fear flooded his veins as he caught a glimpse of faces twisted in rage. "Home. Fraud." The words echoed in his ears, each one laced with disdain. He turned back to her, urgency clawing at his throat. "If you want to understand, you have to follow me. Now." The crowd erupted with renewed fury, and before he could blink, hands reached for him. He had to act fast. He had to choose whether to stand and fight or flee into the unknown. The wind howled, tossing debris around him. "Will you risk it all?" he shouted, his heart pounding against his ribs. Her eyes, bright and fierce, locked onto his, a spark of understanding tinged with disbelief. "But what happens if we go? Then we unravel the lies together," he breathed, laced with desperate hope. In that moment, the question loomed: would she seize this chance, or would they both drown in the tide of anger and misunderstanding? As the crowd closed in and the alley beckoned, the choice hovered, stinging with urgency. The storm was far from over. The alley loomed ahead, a dark refuge amidst the chaos. The man could feel the crowd's desperate energy thrumming around him, hot and unyielding. Every second felt like an eternity, the tension coiling tighter in his chest. He needed her to decide, and he needed her to decide fast. "Come on," he urged, voice cracking under the weight of his fear. "We can make it out of here. Together." The storm of emotions raged in her eyes. As if sensing the pit of helplessness rising within him, she finally nodded, a flicker of resolve igniting. "Okay. Lead the way." Without hesitation, he dashed toward the alley, pulling her along as they ducked away from the chaos. The sounds of anger and accusations twisted into an echo far behind them. The alley swallowed them whole, engulfing them in shadows. As they neared the end, he risked a glance back. The mob hadn't followed. For now, they'd escaped. But the weight of his secrets loomed large. "Now what?" she demanded, her breath heavy from their hurried flight. He leaned against the damp brick wall, trying to catch his breath. The darkness felt alive, pressing in on him as he searched for the right words. "What do you know about me?" he asked, voice hoarse. She eyed him suspiciously, the camera still clutched tightly in her hands. "Just what everyone else knows: you used to be someone important. You fell from grace." "Fell?" he echoed bitterly. "That's one way to put it." He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "But it's more of a descent into what feels like madness. People think I'm a fraud, but they don't see the bigger picture." "The bigger picture," she pressed, her tone sharper now. "Yes," he snapped, the frustration spilling over. "They don't know why I turned my back on everything. The pressure, the emptiness. I thought wealth would fulfill me. I thought love was a trophy to be won. But it wasn't." She lowered the camera slightly, attention flickering between his words and his tortured expression. "So what is the truth?" The question hung in the air, heavy and expectant. He thought of the book, The Fragile Artifact of Hope. Life isn't about what you have. It's about who you are and how you connect with others. I lost sight of that, and I was too far gone to recover. "But is that enough for a story?" she challenged, eyebrows raised. "If you're looking for redemption, why not just confess to the world? Why run?" He swallowed hard, heart thrumming in his chest. "I'm scared that the moment I tell my side, those I've wronged will attack, and this time, they'll strike back harder. For a moment, he considered revealing everything, the shame, the regret, every painful truth tightly bottled up inside him. What if I told them first? She proposed, her eyes glimmering with curiosity. What if I exposed the truth that you think is too painful to share? The idea jolted him, awakening the slumbering dread. You can't, he exclaimed. It'll ruin everything. It won't just be my life at stake. But you're already in danger, she shot back firmly. You can't hide in shadows forever. This moment could change everything if you let me help you, to tell your story and your truth. He sank deeper into thought, the shadows wrapping around him like a cloak. Could he trust her? Was she really on his side? The alley felt smaller, suffocating him, and yet, the fear of remaining voiceless, losing everything, was worse than being seen as a monster. All right, he finally replied, his voice barely above a whisper. But if we do this, we do it my way. Just then, distant yells echoed through the alley, a reminder that their reprieve was temporary. We have to go, she urged, grabbing his arm. Wait, he said, a sinking realization hitting him. What if they come after you? And if you're with me, you'll be targeted too. I'm already in, she stated, fierce determination lighting her eyes. This isn't just about you anymore, it's about the truth. And the truth has a weight all its own. He couldn't argue with that. But as they prepared to move again, an ominous doubt nagged at him. What if revealing their truths meant unleashing a horror greater than he had ever faced? More voices thrummed closer now, fear slinking back into his heart. Let us go now. As they raced toward the mouth of the alley, he couldn't shake the feeling the storm was still coming. What awaited them at the end of the path? Would the truth finally set him free, or would it shatter everything he thought he knew? Time was running out. The air outside struck them like a slap, cold and biting after the suffocating darkness of the alleyway. He felt her urgency beside him, her grip tight on his arm as she pulled him along, navigating through the thrashing sea of accusations and mob mentality. What now? She asked, scanning the street while clenching the camera like a lifeline. The anticipation crackled between them, but fear drowned out any words he might have tried to muster. This way, he shouted, darting into a narrow side street that branched off. His heart raced, not just from the fear of being caught, but from the potential consequences of what they were about to unleash. The urgency pushed him forward, yet his mind reeled with doubt. They stumbled into the comparative calm of a derelict park, dimly lit by flickering street lamps. Overhead, the murky sky promised rain, matching the turmoil brewing within him. He leaned against a rusted swing, trying to catch his breath. Are you sure about this? She pressed, eyes narrowing in concern. As he looked into her expectant gaze, he battled emotions swirling around in his chest: fear, hope, and an unsettling mix of dread. I don't know. What if exposing the truth cuts deeper? She studied him closely. But you'll die 1,000 deaths in silence. Don't you want to live? Not just exist in shadows? He thought back to the life he once had, to the laughter that had filled his sprawling mansion, the warmth of meaningful conversations he had and then lost. Torn between the past and an uncertain future, he could feel the gut-wrenching pull of vulnerability clawing at him. Yes, he whispered, acceptance crashing over him like the impending storm. I want to live. But what if they turn it against me? What if my truth only brings more pain? Pain is there whether you hide or expose it, she insisted. Time to break free. With her words igniting something within him, he regained his footing. All right, he said resolutely, but first we gather all the pieces. Every detail matters. Panic flared for a moment as a deep rumble echoed in the distance, but it was only thunder. He shot a glance at her, determination igniting. We need to find a place where we can talk safely. Somewhere they won search. She nodded, flipping her camera anxiously. I think I know a place. Follow me. They moved quickly, shadows dancing in the dim light. She led him through a maze of alleys, slipping past the visible chaos of the disturbance left behind. His heart pounded not just from fear of being caught, but from the intensity of their shared purpose. For the first time in what felt like forever, he sensed a flicker of hope. Just as they reached a hidden alcove, a figure lurched in front of them, hands raised. He froze, the glint of a knife catching the streetlight. "Who goes there?" The figure growled, eyes piercing through the darkness. His first instinct was to run, but another part of him surged with urgency. "Wait. We're not here to hurt anyone." What are you hiding?" the figure demanded, stepping closer. The danger felt tangible, crawling under his skin like fire. "We're just seeking the truth," she added, her voice surprisingly steady. "Help us." The shadowy figure hesitated, the knife wavering. That pause stretched, a fragile moment pregnant with possibility. Would they become allies, or was this just the prelude to deeper darkness? "Is it worth your life?" the figure finally said, voice lower and cautious, as though weighing their fates. The storm threatened, wrapping them in an electrifying tension. Whispers of secrets hung in the air, threading their lives together in a web of uncertainty. "Maybe," he said, voice trembling. "But every moment counts. We need to push past." Suddenly, screams erupted from the main street. The chaos shifted again, rolling like thunder and echoing against the pavement, crashing down upon them. "What now?" she asked, panic creeping into her tone as fear flooded back into his veins. In that instant, they had to decide. Face the truth, or flee into the dark once more. Outside the shadows, his past loomed. Inside, their collective future thrummed with the promise of revelation. "Let us move," he shouted, where safety was still a debate, and hope hung on a thin thread. But as they turned to run, their paths crisscrossed with specters of betrayal and desperation. What awaited them at the end of this chaotic race against time? Could they truly confront the truth before the storm consumed them, or was this just the beginning of a much darker game? They sprinted down the alley, urgency fueling their every step. The distant shouts and crashing sounds from the mob faded into the background as they pressed forward. His mind raced with adrenaline and doubt. Could they really go through with this? "Over here," she called out, veering toward an old abandoned warehouse at the end of the alley. Its entrance was smudged with graffiti, the thick wooden door barely hanging on its hinges. The place appeared forgotten, swallowed by time, much like his own memories. As they ducked inside, the musty air enclosed them like a heavy blanket. Dust motes danced in the weak shafts of light slicing through broken windows. They paused to breathe, the silence deafening after the chaos outside. "Do you think we can trust him?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The shadowy figure they encountered could very well be a threat, a snake waiting to strike. Her brow furrowed, but determination glimmered in her eyes. "We have to take risks. If we want to expose what is happening, we can't afford to be afraid." He rubbed the back of his neck, processing her words. Facing the truth meant acknowledging the wreckage of his past. Would he be ready to bear that weight? "There's something I need to show you," she said, suddenly serious. She pulled the camera from around her neck, fingers trembling slightly as she fiddled with the settings. "I got a shot of something earlier. When we were running." "What do you mean?" He peered closer, curiosity igniting hope even as fear gnawed at the edges. She pressed play, and his heart sank at the fuzzy, grainy images. They showed the scene outside, the commotion bubbling over. Then, without warning, there it was, something that made his stomach drop. A familiar structure, one he knew too well. His old mansion stalked the background, a ghost tethered to his identity. But it was the figures milling about, the whispers of betrayal, that sent ice flooding through his veins. "Look closer," she urged. "Whoever's stirring up this chaos, they're connected to your past." His throat tightened as different memories clashed, laughter that turned to screams, shadows that once felt safe, now looming over him like a cruel specter. "No, it can't be. It is, she replied, her voice steadier than her hands. We need to confront this. If they're using your history against you, we'll turn it back. We have to gather more evidence. And just as hope began to ignite a spark in him, a loud crash erupted from outside, shaking the old warehouse's walls. They exchanged wide-eyed looks, panic setting in again. Did someone follow us? He asked, dread curling around his insides. Shoo. She pressed a finger against her lips. They leaned towards the now ragged door, straining to hear the low murmur of voices outside. Did you see them? They've found him. We're moving in fast. One voice barked. We can't let them get away. We need to silence them. Another growled, anger soaked in their words, something dark stirred deep inside him. They're after us. It came out as a statement, not a question. Blood thundered in his ears, raw panic rushing through his veins. They can't find us here, she said, her voice laced with urgency. Together, they ducked deeper into the warehouse, frantically searching for a place to hide. The shadows swallowed them, but not the fear haunting their hearts. The realization ignited something deep inside him, a primal instinct to survive. Outside, the voices grew closer. Check every corner. They must be in here. He moved closer to her, whispering fiercely, if they find us. We fight. We fight together. Her eyes shimmered with resolve. Suddenly, a beam of light pierced the darkness, the harsh glow of a flashlight. And everything went still. They held their breaths, hearts beating in sync as panic hung heavy in the air. Why did we let it come to this? He thought, pulling her closer as shadows danced on the walls. Was it worth it? As the light flickered, revealing their hiding place, he heard the voices draw nearer. The moment had come. Would they be exposed before they had a chance to confront their demons, or would a miracle intervene in the midst of the storm? Outside, chaos reigned, while inside the warehouse, fate teetered on a knife's edge. Would this be their last stand, or the first step toward unearthing the truth? The door creaked ominously as a figure stepped inside, flashlight scanning the dilapidated interior. The beam sliced through the dust, illuminating the corners where countless secrets lay hidden. He could feel his heart pounding against his ribcage, a desperate rhythm reflecting their shared terror. Stand back, she whispered, instinctively moving closer. With every second, he thought about the truth lurking in the shadows outside, his past weaving itself through the present, refusing to be forgotten. The footsteps thudded against the concrete. We know you're in there. There's nowhere to run. A voice called out, filled with malice. The tone sent chills down his spine. It was the kind of voice that commanded loyalty through fear. He exchanged a quick glance with her. What do we do? Panic fired up his throat like bile. The flickering light vacillated between hope and despair. We wait, she breathed, but her hands were still trembling. He hated the silence. It felt stagnant, a desperate pause before carnage. They can't find us. We have to do something. Before she could respond, the security searchlight redirected, sweeping dangerously close to their hiding place. It was as if the universe hung in that very moment, suspended between fate and reckoning. Adrenaline coursed through him. Should they bolt for the door? Or risk it all here? A shot rang out outside, echoing like thunder. His heart stopped. Did you hear that? He could barely get the words out as the world inverted on itself. It's them, she gasped. Is anyone hurt? Came another voice. It sounded distant, yet ominously real. We can't let anyone leave here alive. Alive, the word rattled in his chest, a ghost haunting him as memories of that mansion surged like a tidal wave. Would the truth finally be his salvation, or was it destined to drown him instead? Flashes of regret flickered through his mind, memories he had buried deep. Images of laughter and joy twisted into those of loss and betrayal. An ounce of comfort felt so distant now. This isn't just about hiding. It's about everything. My past. My family. Focus. She hissed. We're not lost yet. If we stick together, we can turn this around. Your past is our weapon. Kill them both. Barked a voice outside, sharper now, laced with palpable fury. Don't move. She frowned, pushing him back into the shadows, but he was frozen, haunted by thought. Was this family really who he thought they were? Were they responsible for the chaos that had consumed him? He took a steadying breath. He wanted to believe in their fight for justice, but could he trust her plan? Suddenly, a crash echoed in the distance, the sound of splintering wood resonating through the space. They're coming in. His stomach dropped. Panic clawed at him. We need to split up, she suggested, desperation etched in her voice. Draw them away. No. He replied sharply. We don't know what they want. They'll find us anyway. If we don't do something now, we're as good as dead. His heart hung heavy between fear and trust. The decision loomed, and silence draped over them like a funeral shroud. What if I can help them see? The thought was a whisper, shadowed by doubt. Now. She grabbed his arm, pulling him close. Her eyes were fierce, but doubt mingled with determination. They crept toward the back wall, bracing themselves as a cacophony of footsteps thundered closer. I want to let you go through that alone, she murmured, almost to herself. Then let us make it count. Just as they turned, a new figure entered the doorway, a silhouette against the fading light. Their eyes locked, and the room went silent, an electric charge filling the air. Who was this new player in their desperate game? Surprise, surprise, the figure smirked, their voice echoing with dark amusement. What have you done? He thought, a shadow creeping over his resolve. And then, like an explosion, the truth began to unravel, threatening to consume them both whole. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that sent a surge of conflicting emotions crashing through him. It was someone he thought he would never see again. The last time their paths crossed, he was still tangled in the lies his family spun, a web he was now desperate to escape. Ryan? Her voice wavered, a mix of shock and something he couldn't place. Long time, huh? The smirk twisted into a grin, but it didn't reach his eyes. It was a mask, a carefully constructed facade that looked familiar yet felt utterly alien. What are you doing here? He managed, gripping her arm as if that might anchor him. The weight of her presence brought back a flood of memories of laughter shared, secrets whispered, and the betrayal that shattered everything. Just making sure you're still alive, Ryan replied, tilting his head. You always had a flair for the dramatic. Hiding in dusty corners and playing with shadows? Stop playing games. She hissed, pulling him back into the moment. They're outside. We have to focus. But Ryan waved his hand dismissively. Oh, they're just here for the show. His confidence was unsettling. You really think they'll find you here? You're in the midst of something far greater than you can imagine. His heart raced. What do you mean? Your precious family has been playing a game for years, and you're merely a pawn. The cold disdain in Ryan's voice sent chills down his spine. They wanted power, and you, well, you're just the collateral damage. Shut up. He shouted, frustration boiling over as the walls felt like they were closing in. You have no idea what you're talking about. Ryan stepped forward, eyes fierce. Don't be naive. The moment you entered that mansion, you were part of their plan. They've been watching you, waiting for the right time to pull the strings. They're the ones. A loud bang sliced through the conversation, instantly silencing the room. The door behind Ryan shattered like glass under the force of an invasion. Figures flooded in, faces masked, armed, and dead set on one goal, destruction. Get down. She screamed, pushing him behind a rotting crate as bullets ricocheted, each shot a reminder of his desperate reality. His heart hammered in his chest as he shielded her, instincts kicking in at full throttle. "Ryan!" he yelled over the chaos. "Get back!" But Ryan stood firm, a wicked grin still plastered on his face. "I told you, they're not here for you." The attackers were closing in, their shouts now filled with fury and the hunger for control. "Find them!" someone shouted, punctuating their commands with the sharp click of a weapon being readied. He darted to the side, adrenaline flooding his veins as he locked eyes with her. "We need a plan. Now. Delay them. We have to use the back exit." She shouted, urgency rushing through her, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan was somehow in this too, that familiar knot in his gut twisted tighter. What was the truth? Whose side was he really on? In the clamor, Ryan's amused laugh floated above the chaos. "You think you can run from the past? Look around you. This is just the beginning." A wave of realization crashed over him, as icy as the bullets firing into the walls. Were they being set up for another trap? "Let us go. Now." He yanked her away from the fray, but a part of him was already spinning, caught in the lies that wrapped around him like barbed wire. In the chaotic rush, he glimpsed Ryan at the doorway, smirking with that same twisted amusement as if he were watching a show. "You'll find answers, just not the ones you expect." The moment lingered, beckoning him back as panic surged. Questions erupted in his mind. What was Ryan's game? Who could he trust? Yet, an area of darkness loomed ahead, where shadows merged and secrets simmered, waiting to explode. They were barreling toward the edge of discovery, and as reality twisted tighter, he realized that perhaps the most terrifying revelation was yet to come. "Hold on!" he yelled as they plunged into the unknown, but behind them, Ryan's laughter echoed, haunting and cold. What if the truth was something far worse than he imagined? They sprinted through the narrow corridor, breathless, hearts pounding like drums against the chaos that erupted behind them. Each echoing footstep mixed with the sounds of shattered wood and shouts, amplifying the sense of fear that clung to the air. "Over here!" she shouted, flinging open a door that led to a dimly lit staircase. The stairs creaked ominously under their hurried steps. He could feel the darkness clinging to them, almost alive, as if it were reaching out with icy fingers. "What's the plan?" he panted, clutching her hand tightly. Her grip was reassuring, even as the oppressive atmosphere threatened to suffocate him. The sounds of the intruders grew louder, their movements purposeful and menacing, crawling closer with every passing second. "I don't know. Just keep moving." Desperation dripped from her words, but he could see the determination in her eyes. She was ready. He couldn't let her down. They reached the bottom, the door to the exit just ahead, a sliver of hope gleaming in the dark. But the sound of heavy boots stomping through the upper floor made his stomach twist. It was a race against time now. Suddenly, a crash echoed from above, sending dust raining down around them. "Go, now!" he urged, shoving her forward. They burst into the night, the cool air hitting their faces like a splash of ice water. "Where do we go?" she gasped, scanning their surroundings. The world felt unreal, shadows looming like specters, but they had to act. "There." He pointed to a narrow alleyway that cut between two buildings. It was a gamble, but what choice did they have? They darted into the darkness, hearts racing as they lined up against the cold brick wall. Silence enveloped them, save for their labored breaths. "Do you think they saw us?" she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "I can't say for sure, but we can't stay here long," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The tension was unbearable, every second stretching like an eternity. As they ducked deeper into the alley, muffled voices echoed at the mouth. "They went this way. Split up and find them." His breath hitched in his chest as reality locked around him. They were no longer just running. They were hunted. They pushed farther into the shadows, praying that the night would protect them. But doubt gnawed at him. Was Ryan playing a double game, or were they just unlucky pawns in something much darker? Ryan said they were coming for me. But why? He murmured, more to himself than to her. It was like placing pieces of an intricate puzzle laden with lies and truths he couldn't untangle. Forget Ryan. She snapped. We need to think about how to survive this. He nodded, her resolve igniting a flicker of determination within him. Right. He needed a plan, but his mind raced at warp speed, thoughts colliding chaotically. Suddenly, an explosive bang echoed nearby, followed by a series of shouted commands. The attackers had entered the alley, and they could hear the pounding of their footsteps. Move! He shouted, pulling her deeper into the maze of darkness. They scrambled over discarded crates, adrenaline sharpening their senses. The conflicting emotions churned inside him, questions whirring like a storm. Did Ryan know something vital? Was he leading them to safety or straight into a trap? Stop! A voice yelled, breaking through the clamor. The shadows shifted as a figure stepped into the alley, face illuminated by a nearby streetlight. It was one of their pursuers, eyes narrowed, weapon drawn. Gotcha! He snarled, a smug smile forming across his face. Run! He screamed, lunging toward her just as a shot rang out, echoing like thunder. As the world narrowed to that instant, he locked eyes with her, knowing they were on the brink of something terrible. Was this it? Or was the worst still yet to come? They sprinted deeper into the tangled alleys, their hearts pounding against the chaos that threatened to consume them both. The echoes of shouts and sirens bled into the night, a cacophony of fear and desperation spiraling around them. One thought surged forward, louder than the rest: they had to uncover the truth. The truth that had haunted him, the truth that might just save them or expose them to the fury of his past. Where? She cried, the urgency in her voice slicing through the din. The tension hung thick, the air felt charged, electrified, like the pause before a lightning strike. We can't keep running forever. He pulled her close, seeking shelter behind a dumpster as shadows danced around them. We have to find somewhere safe to think. Somewhere private. He scanned their surroundings, the faint glimmer of an old warehouse flickering in the moonlight across the street. There. She nodded, fear-stricken but resolute, and they took off again, urgency fueling every step towards the decaying structure waiting at the edge of their unraveling reality. As they entered the warehouse, the stale air enveloped them like a thick fog. Dust hung in the beams of moonlight that managed to filter through the cracked windows, creating haunting patterns on the concrete floor. This will have to do, he said, whispering as he slid the door closed behind them. Locked away from the chaos, he leaned against the wall, panting heavily, trying to wrestle his thoughts. What do we do now? She asked, her eyes wide, filled with trepidation as she lit the dim area with her camera's flash, revealing a wealth of forgotten memories in the detritus scattered around. Breathing deeply, he met her gaze, determination igniting within him. We confront Ryan. He's part of this mess, isn't he? His voice held a newfound strength, a burgeoning conviction. Then we find out everything he knows, she affirmed, nodding firmly, her own resolve shoring up against the uncertainty that gripped them both. But just as they were about to make their move, he heard a noise scraping at the door, ominous and loud. They've found us. He whispered urgently, adrenaline flooding his veins again. Hide. They ducked behind a mound of broken pallets as the door creaked open. The silhouettes of armed figures spilled into the dusty light, their movements precise and calculated, predatory. We'll find them, one growled, scanning the area with narrowed eyes. Get the cameras rolling. They can't escape. They huddled closer, hearts racing as they heard their plan. This is it, he whispered, fear ivy wrapping around his heart. Not if we get ahead of them, she said, fierce determination alight in her eyes. Ryan can't be trusted if he's working with them, we need to expose this before it's too late. That was it, her unyielding spirit ignited a fire inside him. Let us lure them out. He could feel the weight of their past pressing down on him as he strained to formulate a plan. Right. I'll distract them at the entrance. You sneak behind them, try to get to the window out back. She said, a flash of courage emblazoned across her features. No way. We go together or not at all, he countered fiercely. Each moment spent debating felt like a heartbeat lost. If we split up, it's no better than leaving the first line of defense. All right, then we do it together, she relented with a nod. They slipped back towards the heavy door where the shadows twisted and darkened. He felt fear twist in his gut. They pressed together, shoulder to shoulder, preparing for what lay ahead. On three. His voice was steady now, fate glimmered just out of reach. 1, 2, 3. They burst through the door, adrenaline rushing as they collided with the startled figures, a whirlwind of defiance. The surprise brought chaos into their ranks as he furiously scrambled towards the first attacker, grappling with him, each punch vibrating through his knuckles. Fight! He shouted, and their skirmish propelled them together, a bizarre dance of desperation amidst darkness. That he could hear her voice, a beacon guiding him. Back! Back! Get to the cover! In the chaos, he spotted the glint of Ryan just beyond the tussling shadows. That familiar smirk crossed his face, and as their eyes locked, something in the man shifted. A knowing sneer satisfied at the drama unfolding. Now do you see? Ryan shouted amidst the commotion. You never intended to escape, only to play your hand in this game. Pathetic. Run, little pigs, run. The laughter cut through him, rage flaring up, nearly blinding him. With an icy fire igniting in his veins, he broke free from his opponent's grasp and charged at Ryan, fists flying in fury. You think this is a game? Ryan only grinned wider, knowing the consequences of the unfolding storm. It's simply what you are, a pawn in your family's design. The weight of his words hit hard, forcing him to draw back, intent wavering. What if, despite the chaos surrounding them, there was truth in it? Memories of enablers surfaced, shadows of trust and betrayal mingled. With every passing word, Ryan fed the chaos inside him. Enough! She yelled, snapping him back to urgency. Stop getting caught up in his web. We need evidence, not this circus. With a shake of resolve, he pulled away from Ryan and sprinted towards the group, finding an angle to escape the madness, gesturing for her to follow. Over here. We'll flank them. They dashed for the old back exit, adrenaline keeping them alive even as chaos swirled around them. And as they broke free into the night, a certainty set in. They had evaded the storm tonight, but the battle wasn't over. Together, they would uncover the truth. Tomorrow, they'd de-expose Ryan and the conspiracy of greed that extended its claws into their lives. The path was littered with obstacles, but with courage in their hearts, they charged into the darkness, driven by a force larger than themselves. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for the truth, a fight for love, and they would not fall prey to shadows again. In the end, they'd break free from the chains of their past, and that, above all, would become their ultimate redemption. Now, as their footsteps echoed in the recesses of the city, the future shimmered ahead, a wild tapestry waiting to be woven with their own hands. Hey, before we end this incredible journey together, I need you to do something now. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Each ending is crafted with love for you. Smash that like button with all your might to feed the algorithm and help build this community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And for the love of all that's epic, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You can be a part of something big, so don't wait even one more second to share. Your support means everything. Let us make this an unforgettable experience.